There's a fire inside every single one of us, a quiet force, a deep hunger, a voice that whispers, you were made for something more. That fire is called purpose, and when you tap into it, when you stop drifting and start living with intention, everything changes. The power of purpose is not just about knowing what you want to do, it's about discovering why you are here and how you can serve the world with the gifts you've been given.
Let me be clear. Without purpose, you're just going through the motions. You wake up, you work, you eat, you sleep, and repeat. But purpose gives those motions meaning. It transforms routine into mission. It turns pressure into passion. It takes the pain you've endured and turns it into power.
There's something different about a person who knows where they're going. You can see it in their eyes, hear it in their voice, feel it in the energy they bring into the room. That difference is purpose. It's not talent, luck, or resources. It's direction. Purpose is what turns an ordinary life into an extraordinary mission. It's what gives weight to the things you do every single day. Without purpose, life becomes a cycle of repetition. Waking up, going to work, coming home, scrolling through distractions, going to sleep, and doing it all again, without ever feeling like you're moving forward. But when purpose enters the picture, everything starts to make sense. Purpose doesn't necessarily change what you do, it changes why you do it. And that change in why transforms how you experience your life. You stop seeing your job as just a paycheck and start seeing it as a stepping stone. You stop seeing your struggles as punishment and start seeing them as preparation. You stop dragging yourself through the day and start showing up with fire in your heart. Purpose gives your actions depth. It brings meaning to your habits, your goals, your conversations. It allows you to live intentionally instead of accidentally. The truth is, most people don't hate their lives. They hate the lack of meaning in their lives. They feel like they're living, but not really alive. They check off boxes, but never feel fulfilled. That's the result of a life disconnected from purpose. Because purpose is not about being busy, it's about being aligned. You can be busy every single day and still feel empty. But when you're aligned with your purpose, even small steps feel significant. Even the hard days carry hope. Think about it. When you know what you're working toward, even the mundane becomes meaningful. Waking up early doesn't feel like a punishment. It feels like preparation. Practicing your craft doesn't feel like a chore. It feels like a calling. Saying no to distractions doesn't feel like restriction. It feels like protection. That's the power of purpose. It transforms everything it touches. It gives clarity to your priorities, strength to your discipline, and direction to your dreams. When you live without purpose, you become vulnerable to everything. You chase what's popular instead of what's right. You compare instead of create. You wait for permission instead of taking action. But with purpose, you become grounded. You don't get swayed by every opinion or setback because you have an internal compass. You know who you are, you know where you're headed, and because of that, you can endure more, grow faster, and stand taller. Purpose also brings peace, not because everything is easy, but because you know your life means something. You could be working long hours, facing rejection, or going through tough seasons, but still feel a deep sense of calm because you know it's all part of a bigger picture. You're not just surviving, you're building. You're not just waiting, you're walking towards something, and that changes everything. One of the most dangerous places a person can be is stuck in comfort without purpose, because comfort without purpose leads to complacency. You start living small when you were made for more. You stay quiet when you were meant to speak. You settle when you were born to soar. But once you reconnect with your purpose, you can no longer tolerate being stuck. You become restless in the best way. You begin to move differently, think differently, live differently. Purpose also simplifies life. It cuts through the noise. It shows you what to say yes to and what to walk away from. You don't have to do everything, you just have to do the right things. You don't have to impress everyone, you just have to stay true to what you're here for. That's why people with purpose often seem so focused, so disciplined. It's not that they don't feel tired or discouraged, they just refuse to be distracted. They know what's at stake. And here's what's beautiful. Your purpose doesn't have to be something flashy or famous. It doesn't have to come with millions of followers or viral moments. Your purpose might be to raise strong kids, build a business that changes lives, serve in your community, tell stories that heal, or simply live with integrity and love. The size of your purpose doesn't matter, the sincerity does. When you do what you were created to do in the way only you can do it, the impact is undeniable. Purpose is the reason some people keep going long after others have quit. It's the reason some people rise up after loss, fight through fear, and keep dreaming in the face of doubt. Because when you have a reason, when you have a mission, you refuse to give up. And that kind of drive isn't something that comes from motivation or hype, it comes from purpose. It's deeper than feelings, it's more powerful than circumstances. So if you feel stuck, empty, or like something's missing, it's probably not your effort, it's your direction. You don't need more willpower, you need a stronger why. And that why comes from knowing your purpose. It's time to stop moving through life aimlessly and start living it intentionally. Your days matter, your choices matter, you matter. Purpose is already in you. You don't have to create it from scratch, you just have to uncover it. Listen to your soul. Pay attention to the things that move you, that frustrate you, that bring you joy. These are clues pointing to what you're here to do. Don't ignore them. Follow them. Because the life you want to live, the one that fills you with meaning, energy, and fire, it's on the other side of purpose. You don't need to have all the answers, you just need to take the first step. And once you start walking in purpose, you'll never want to go back. Because the moment you live with purpose is the moment everything begins to change. There comes a time in everyone's life when challenges hit so hard that quitting seems like the only option. You feel drained, discouraged, and disconnected. The weight gets heavier and the road gets longer. But something powerful separates those who keep pushing from those who give in. Purpose. Purpose is the invisible force that fuels resilience. It's the inner anchor that holds you steady when storms try to break you. It's the why that gives you strength to endure anyhow. When you're rooted in purpose, no obstacle is too big, no delay too long, and no failure too final. Every single person faces hard seasons. Life doesn't hand out smooth paths to anyone. But some people rise while others fall, not because they're stronger, richer, or luckier, but because they have a deeper reason to keep going. Purpose gives you a reason to fight through the fatigue. It whispers to you when everything else is silent. It stands tall when everything else around you is falling apart. It's what turns tears into testimony and pain into progress. Purpose doesn't prevent adversity, but it gives you the strength to endure it. The truth is, when you live without purpose, struggle becomes unbearable. Pain feels pointless. Setbacks feel like a dead end. But when you're living with purpose, those same struggles become stepping stones. You begin to see failure not as a sign to quit, but as a lesson that's shaping you. Purpose allows you to reframe your pain. It says this isn't happening to break you, it's happening to build you. That shift in mindset changes everything. Because once your suffering has a purpose, you stop resisting it and start rising through it. Think about the people you admire, the ones who've accomplished great things, impacted lives, changed the world. In some way, they didn't get there by floating through life. They got there by walking through fire. They faced rejection, loss, criticism, and defeat. But what kept them going was purpose. Purpose made them wake up on the days they wanted to stay in bed. Purpose made them practice again after they failed. Purpose made them believe when no one else did. It was never about being fearless, it was about having something so meaningful that it was worth facing their fears for. Purpose doesn't erase fear or fatigue, it just gives you a reason to press through them. It gives your suffering meaning. It makes the struggle feel worthwhile. You stop asking, why is this happening to me? And start asking, what is this preparing me for? Because when you have purpose, you know you're not just enduring, you're evolving. You're being shaped for something bigger. And that perspective gives you power. It's a kind of strength that can't be taught in a classroom or bought with money. It's the kind of strength that's forged in silence and difficulty and perseverance. And that strength is only possible when you're driven by something deeper than comfort or applause. Purpose gives you that depth. It keeps you grounded when the world tries to shake you. It gives you inner fuel that doesn't run out just because things get hard. So many people give up not because they lack talent, but because they lack purpose. They don't see a reason to keep going. The pain feels meaningless, so they stop. But purpose breathes life into that pain. It reminds you that every step, even the painful ones, are taking you somewhere. Every late night, every setback, every no you hear, it's all part of the path. And when you know where you're going, you can endure more than you ever thought possible. Purpose also gives you emotional endurance. It strengthens your heart when it's broken. It gives you clarity when your vision gets blurry. It keeps you emotionally anchored when people misunderstand you or criticize you. When you're led by purpose, you don't get easily derailed by the noise. You don't crumble every time something goes wrong. Yes, you feel it. Yes, it hurts. But you don't give in. You realign. You reset, and then you rise. There's a certain calm that comes when you're living with purpose. You don't panic the same way others do when life hits hard, because deep down you trust that this storm won't last forever. You know it's not the end of the road. You've got something inside of you that's stronger than the problem in front of you. That's what purpose does. It makes you resilient, not because you don't fall, but because you keep getting up. It's not about being perfect. It's not about having all the answers. It's about refusing to quit on the thing that matters most to you. And when that thing is rooted in purpose, quitting doesn't even feel like an option. You might pause, cry, stumble, or even retreat for a while, but you always come back because there's a voice inside that won't let you settle. That voice is your purpose calling you forward. Purpose doesn't promise ease, but it promises meaning. It promises transformation. It promises growth. And in a world full of distractions, pain, and setbacks, those things matter more than ever. You don't need a perfect plan. You need a powerful reason. A reason to show up, to push forward, to stand tall even when everything around you feels like it's falling apart. So if you're in a dark place right now, don't give up. Don't let the pressure convince you that you're finished. You're not done. You're just in the middle of your process. And purpose is the bridge that will carry you from pain to progress, from struggle to strength, from confusion to clarity. You are stronger than you think. And when you root yourself in purpose, that strength becomes unshakable. Keep walking, keep believing, keep becoming, because purpose will never let your pain go to waste. Purpose is not something you find while sitting comfortably, waiting for life to hand you the answers. Purpose is discovered in the fire, in the struggle, in the moments when you're stretched beyond what you thought you could handle. It doesn't arrive with ease. It arrives through challenge. It doesn't whisper in moments of comfort. It roars when you're on the edge of breaking. The truth is, if you want to find your purpose, you have to be willing to face discomfort. Growth doesn't happen when everything is going your way. Growth happens when life gets tough and you choose to keep moving forward anyway. It's a lie to think that life will lay out a perfect road toward your calling. Most people never find their purpose because the moment things get hard, they retreat. The first time they fail, they walk away. But purpose is only revealed when you choose to lean into the challenge, not run from it. Those hard seasons, they're not meant to destroy you, they're meant to shape you. They're testing your resolve, your belief, your commitment. Because purpose doesn't belong to the passive, it belongs to the persistent. There's a reason why diamonds are formed under pressure, why steel is forged in fire, and why champions are built in the shadows. Comfort doesn't shape character. Challenge does. When you face resistance, when you feel pain, when you deal with failure and disappointment, that's when purpose begins to rise. It rises because you realize you're capable of more. It rises because you stop relying on what's easy and start relying on what's true. Purpose demands something from you. It demands sacrifice, courage, and persistence. If you're waiting for the right time to step into your purpose, that time may never come. There will always be discomfort. There will always be fear. But those things aren't signs that you're on the wrong path. They're confirmation that you're stepping into something meaningful. Because nothing worth doing ever feels completely safe. Nothing meaningful ever comes without resistance. The presence of challenge doesn't mean you're failing. It means you're on the right track. Too many people spend their lives chasing comfort. They avoid risk. They fear rejection, and they stay inside the boundaries of the familiar. But purpose lives outside that zone. It lives in the places that scare you. It lives in the moments when you say yes to growth, even when it hurts. It lives in the decisions where you choose progress over ease. If you want to live a life of purpose, you have to get comfortable being uncomfortable. You have to embrace the idea that challenge is not your enemy, it's your pathway. Purpose is not a straight line, it's a journey full of detours, delays, and difficult decisions. You may fail, you may get lost, you may wonder if you're doing the right thing, but if you keep showing up, keep learning, and keep pushing forward through the discomfort, you'll start to see the pieces come together. You'll start to understand that the tough seasons weren't punishment, they were preparation. Every setback, every struggle, every obstacle was training you for what's ahead. When you choose to embrace challenge, you stop fearing failure. You start seeing it as part of the process. You stop waiting for perfect conditions and start moving with what you have. You stop worrying about what people will think and start focusing on what truly matters. That shift in mindset is everything. Because the moment you stop resisting challenge and start respecting it, you unlock a level of power within you that most people never reach. There's nothing wrong with wanting to be comfortable, But when comfort becomes your priority, purpose takes a back seat. Because purpose requires action. It requires risk. It requires discipline. Comfort wants you to stay the same. Purpose wants you to grow. Comfort says, stay safe. Purpose says, step out. Comfort says, don't make waves. Purpose says, make a difference. And you have to choose which voice you'll listen to. You won't always feel ready. You won't always feel brave. But if you wait until you feel completely fearless, you'll be waiting forever. Purpose asks you to move in faith, to show up even when you're uncertain, to keep walking even when the path isn't clear. That's how you build strength. That's how you build resilience. And most importantly, that's how you build a life that actually matters. One of the greatest truths about purpose is that it doesn't just impact you, it impacts everyone connected to you. When you live in your purpose, you inspire others to find theirs. When you step up, others follow. When you speak your truth, others gain the courage to speak theirs. So every time you push through the challenge, you're not just growing yourself, you're lighting the way for someone else. That's why giving up is not an option. Someone out there needs what you're carrying. Someone's breakthrough is tied to your obedience. Your purpose isn't just about you, it's about everyone your life will touch. So don't shrink when things get tough. Don't back down when life gets uncomfortable. Don't retreat when the pressure rises. That pressure is part of your purpose. It's part of the refining process. Let it mold you, sharpen you, strengthen you. Let it prepare you for what's coming. You are not meant to live small. You are not meant to play it safe. You were made for something greater, and that greatness is found on the other side of challenge. Keep going, even when it's hard, especially when it's hard. Because every time you choose challenge over comfort, you grow. Every time you stretch beyond your limits, you evolve. Every time you stay committed to your purpose through the pain, you rise. Purpose is not handed to the comfortable. It's earned by those who dare to face discomfort with courage again and again. And you have that courage within you. Fulfillment isn't found in applause. It's not found in the number of followers you have, how much money is in your account, or how many people know your name. Fulfillment lives in purpose. It's what you feel when you're doing what you were born to do, even if no one else sees it. It's the deep peace that comes from knowing your life has meaning, that your work matters, and that you are aligned with something bigger than yourself. External rewards may bring a moment of pleasure, but they can't fill the emptiness that exists when your soul is disconnected from its purpose. So many people spend their lives chasing symbols of success. They pursue titles, possessions, recognition, believing those things will finally make them feel whole. And yet, time and time again, they reach those milestones and still feel unfulfilled. Because fulfillment can't be bought, it can only be earned through alignment with your true self. You can have everything the world says should make you happy and still feel lost if you're not living in your purpose. Purpose gives your life direction. But more than that, it gives your life depth. When you live with purpose, even the smallest task takes on meaning. You don't just go to work, you show up to serve. You don't just build a business, you build a legacy. You don't just survive the day, you contribute something valuable to the world. That shift is what separates a life of emptiness from a life of fulfillment. It's not about what you have, it's about who you are and what you're giving back. Purpose-driven people may not always have the flashiest lives, but they have peace. They have clarity. They wake up with a sense of meaning, and they go to bed knowing they've moved closer to something that matters. That feeling can't be replicated by fame or fortune. It comes only from living in alignment with your calling. You don't need to be celebrated to feel successful when your life is driven by something bigger than recognition. When you live for applause, you become a prisoner to other people's opinions. You adjust your actions to please the crowd. You start chasing trends instead of truth. But when you live with purpose, you're guided by your internal compass. You don't need validation from others because you already have clarity within yourself. You know why you're here, you know what you're building, and that internal certainty is worth more than any external reward. External rewards are unstable. Applause fades. Trends change. Money comes and goes. But purpose is unshakable. It doesn't vanish when circumstances change. It doesn't depend on whether people support you. It stays with you through highs and lows, through victories and failures. Purpose is the foundation that allows you to stand firm no matter what storms life throws your way. Fulfillment also requires sacrifice. It requires you to say no to distractions so you can say yes to destiny. It requires discipline, focus, and a willingness to do the right thing, even when it's the hard thing. But the rewards are deeper than anything the world can offer. You gain self-respect, you gain peace, you gain a life that feels meaningful, because you're not just chasing success, you're creating significance. People often ask, what's the secret to happiness? The answer isn't in what you get, it's in what you give. Purpose is the channel through which you give your best to the world. It allows you to turn your pain into power, your experience into wisdom, your gifts into impact. And when you know that your life is making a difference, no matter how small, it brings a joy that external rewards simply can't match. If your life feels empty, if your days feel repetitive, if you're constantly asking, is this all there is, then it's time to stop chasing and start aligning. It's time to look inward instead of outward. What makes you feel alive? What do you do that makes time disappear? What problem breaks your heart? What idea keeps you up at night? What dream won't leave you alone? These are not accidents. These are signposts pointing you toward your purpose. And when you begin to follow that purpose, the external rewards may come, but they're no longer the goal. They become a byproduct of doing what you love, of living with intention. And if they don't come, it doesn't break you, because you're not dependent on them for your sense of worth. You already have what matters most, fulfillment. There's a stillness that comes from purpose. It quiets the noise of the world. It silences comparison. It removes the need to prove yourself. You're not in competition anymore. You're in alignment. You stop racing others and start running your own race, and that's when life really begins. Not when you reach a certain income or gain a certain title, but when you know you're living as the person you were created to be. Purpose is the most valuable thing you'll ever find, because it's the one thing no one can take from you. They can take your job, your money, your platform, but they can't take your purpose. And when you build your life on that, you become unbreakable. You become whole. You become fulfilled. So ask yourself, are you chasing things that look good from the outside, or are you building a life that feels good on the inside? Are you driven by applause or by alignment? Are you living for recognition, or are you living for purpose? Make the shift. Let go of the need for constant external validation. Anchor yourself in your calling. Trust that the deepest joy isn't in being seen, it's in becoming who you were born to be. That's the path to fulfillment. That's the reward of living with purpose. There is a truth that many people overlook in their pursuit of greatness. Your purpose is still alive. No matter what you've been through, no matter how many mistakes you've made, no matter how many times you've failed or fallen short, your purpose has not expired. It hasn't been canceled by your past, it hasn't been diminished by your disappointments, and it hasn't disappeared because life got hard. If you're still breathing, your purpose is still beating inside you, waiting for you to rise again. It doesn't matter if you feel broken, lost, ashamed, or overlooked. What's inside of you is still valid, still powerful, and still possible. Too often, people believe the lie that their purpose is something they missed. They think they took the wrong path, wasted too much time, or made too many wrong decisions to still have something meaningful ahead of them. But purpose doesn't work like that. It's not fragile. It's not limited by your detours. Purpose can survive your darkest moments. In fact, it often grows in the dark. It deepens when life falls apart. It refines itself in seasons of silence, pain, and waiting. Your past may shape you, but it does not define you. The things you regret, things you hide, things you wish you could erase, those are not the end of your story. They are the chapters that lead you to a stronger, wiser, and more purpose-filled version of yourself. Every failure, every heartbreak, every delay has been preparing you for something greater. You didn't miss your chance, you were being prepared for it. The world may try to convince you that your value is tied to what you've accomplished, that if you haven't reached a certain level of success by a certain age, you're behind, that if you've messed up, you're disqualified. But the truth is, purpose is not a race. It's not about being ahead of anyone else. It's about becoming who you are meant to be at the pace that is right for you. And the only person who can truly disqualify you from your purpose is you if you choose to walk away from it. The amazing thing about purpose is that it can evolve. It's not one rigid path that you either follow perfectly or lose forever. It adapts, it grows with you, it meets you right where you are. And if you've wandered, if you've given up, if you've shut down, your purpose will wait for you. It doesn't vanish because you lost faith. It doesn't disappear because you had a hard season. It remains quietly urging you to come back to yourself, to try again, to rise up. There's something powerful that happens when you finally decide to reclaim your purpose. You start to see your pain differently. You begin to realize that what you've been through didn't break you. It built you. The broken pieces weren't the end of your story, they were the beginning of a deeper one. The parts of you that felt like a mess start to make sense. You see how your story, no matter how imperfect, still has power. And not only that, it has the potential to help others heal, to inspire them, to remind them that they are not alone.
Your purpose was never meant to be perfect. It was meant to be lived with authenticity. It's not about having it all figured out. It's about showing up day by day and moving forward even when it's hard. It's about embracing who you are, where you've been, and what you still have the power to do. It's about choosing to believe that your life matters, your voice matters, and your journey has value.
Don't wait for the perfect conditions. Don't wait for approval. Don't wait until you feel 100% ready. Start now with what you have. Your purpose isn't waiting for perfection. It's waiting for commitment. It's waiting for you to stop running from your calling and start stepping into it. Even if it's messy, even if it's uncertain, even if you feel like you're not enough, you are enough right now, as you are. And everything you've walked through has prepared you for this moment. There are people out there who need what only you can give. There are problems in the world that only your unique perspective can help solve. There are stories that need your voice, movements that need your leadership, lives that need your presence. You don't have to be anyone else. You just have to be the fullest, truest version of you. And when you do that, when you live with intention and purpose, you become a force. You begin to create change, to influence, to inspire, and most importantly, you begin to feel alive again. Stop waiting for someone to come save you. Save yourself. Stand back up, dust yourself off. Look yourself in the mirror and say, I'm not done. Because you're not. Your purpose is too big to stay buried under fear, shame, or doubt. It's time to remember who you are. You were not created to merely exist. You were created to impact, to build, to create, to love, to lead, to grow, and to live with meaning. The road ahead may not be easy. There may still be setbacks, struggles, and moments of doubt. But this time you'll walk it with clarity. This time you'll know what you're fighting for. You'll know that your life has weight and that your existence is not random. You are here for a reason. You are here for impact. And that purpose you thought you lost, it's been waiting for you all along. So rise, not because everything is perfect, but because you are finally ready to believe that your life still matters. Your purpose still lives, and your best chapters are still being written. Living with purpose doesn't just transform your own life. It has the power to ignite the lives of those around you. When you walk in alignment with who you are and what you were created to do, you become a source of inspiration, strength, and permission for others to do the same. Purpose isn't selfish. It's contagious. It shines like a light in the darkness, guiding others to find their own way. You may not always see it, but the way you live, your choices, your resilience, your values, ripples out and impacts people in ways you'll never fully understand. When someone sees you stand tall in your truth, it gives them courage to stand in theirs. When you keep going after your dreams despite setbacks, it reminds them that they can rise too. When you show up with authenticity, with passion, with conviction, you become living proof that it's possible to live differently. You show them that it's not only okay, but powerful to be bold, to be vulnerable, to be driven by meaning instead of validation. People are watching, not because they want to judge, but because they want hope. They want evidence that it's possible to build a life that feels right from the inside out. And when you live with purpose, you become that evidence. You become the example someone else needs. Maybe they'll never tell you. Maybe you'll never know. But your life will leave fingerprints on others' hearts. Not because you tried to impress, but because you dared to live truthfully. We live in a world where so many people are searching for direction, clarity, identity. And in that world, those who live on purpose become lighthouses. Not because they're perfect, but because they're grounded. Not because they have all the answers, but because they've chosen to move forward anyway. That kind of energy shifts things. It creates safe space. It invites others to stop performing and start becoming. Your purpose can unlock someone else's healing. Your obedience can unlock someone else's breakthrough. You don't need a stage to influence. You don't need a title to lead. You don't need to be famous to make a difference. Influence begins the moment you choose to live with integrity and intention. It's the daily decisions, how you speak to people, how you handle challenges, how you treat yourself, that shape your impact. Because people don't always remember what you say, but they never forget how you made them feel. And when you live with purpose, people feel seen. They feel challenged. They feel hope. It's easy to underestimate your influence, to think your life doesn't matter because you're not in the spotlight. But some of the most powerful people are those who simply live with quiet strength, who show up every day with love, faith, discipline, and a desire to serve. Purpose doesn't always shout. Sometimes it whispers. Sometimes it's found in the consistent love of a parent, the encouragement of a teacher, the kindness of a stranger. These moments may seem small, but they're not. They are the heartbeat of transformation. When you live with purpose, you start attracting people who are also searching for more. You create connections that go beyond the surface. You draw in those who are tired of pretending and ready to be real, and in those relationships, something sacred happens. You begin to build community rooted in authenticity, growth, and shared vision. You uplift each other, you hold each other accountable, you push each other to keep evolving. Purpose-driven people don't compete, they collaborate. They don't tear down, they build. Because when you know who you are, you're not threatened by someone else's strength. You celebrate it, you encourage it, you see the beauty in others because you've learned to honor it in yourself. Living with purpose changes how you show up in the world. It removes the masks, the fear, the need to impress, and in that space of truth, others finally feel free to step into their own calling. There's also healing in purpose. When you live with intention, you start transforming your pain into wisdom. You stop hiding your scars and start using them as reminders of your resilience. And when people see that, when they see that it's possible to survive and still shine, they start believing in their own healing too. Your story becomes a mirror, your journey becomes a map, and without even trying, your purpose becomes a gift to others. You'll never fully know who's watching you. It might be the child who watches how you keep pushing forward. It might be the friend who sees your discipline and starts changing their habits. It might be the coworker who gains courage because you spoke up. It might be a stranger who hears your story and finds the strength to keep going. Your purpose is not limited to you. It's designed to flow through you and touch lives in ways you may never see. This is why giving up is not an option. Not just because your life matters, but because your purpose holds the key to someone else's transformation. Your breakthrough might unlock theirs. Your courage might fuel their next step. Your light might guide them out of their darkness, and that's why you must keep going. It's not about being perfect, it's about being real, being consistent, being faithful to what you're here to do. Don't wait until everything feels easy or obvious. Start living on purpose now. Show up even when it's hard. Speak truth even when your voice shakes. Love even when it's uncomfortable. Your purpose will grow as you walk it out. And as it grows, so will your impact. You were not put on this earth just to survive. You were born to shift atmospheres, to inspire, to lead, to heal. Your life is not random. Your presence is not accidental. There is a reason you're here, and there are people waiting for you to fully step into that reason. So rise, not just for yourself, but for everyone your purpose will touch. Live boldly, love deeply, and lead by example, because the moment you truly live with purpose, you don't just change your own world, you begin to change the world around you.